Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube. It's your girl Honey. This is the good, the bad and the ugly astrology. And today we are starting off with a Pluto through the houses series. Brand new series, people. I'm excited. So we're doing Pluto in the 6th house. I'm starting off on this one because I have it in the 6th house. I always start off on my placements just to kick things off. And I know this is known to be such a boring house to everybody, but when you have Pluto in this house, honey, it adds excitement to your life. Sexual excitement too. So what is Pluto? Pluto is known to be a malefic planet, right? And whatever house it's in, it may cause trauma, problems, or transformation. It's all about transforming, the rebirth, brand new, even sex and taboo. The 6th house represents your day-to-day routines. It's home to Virgo. Virgo is the ruler of Mercury. Gemini is the co-ruler, right? The 6th house is all about your health, well-being, day-to-day routines. It's all about small pets and animals and also your employment. Now, when you relate employment, you can also look at the 10th house, but the 10th house is more so your career. So what happens when Pluto falls into your 6th house? Let's go with day-to-day routines of things. These people, because Virgo is in that house and Virgo is all about, helping people and being of service to others. When Pluto falls in there, Pluto doesn't like helping people. Pluto feels like, why should I help you here? Why should I over exude myself to you? These are the people that if you go to their house, they don't want to pour you a drink. You've got to get your own drink. And I'm speaking from experience here. You've got to get your own drink, especially when it comes to cooking and presenting things. When I have guests around my house, I don't like to cook. It feels like a chore. Because I've had dates and stuff with people and it's like they always ask, oh, can you cook me dinner? And I hate it. But when I'm cooking, you must understand that it's a massive gesture for me to do this thing for you, because I'm having to overexert myself, or whatever the fucking word is. I'm going to do something that I'm very uncomfortable with, because being of service is not something that a Pluto 6th house person is good at doing or wants to do, likes to do. We don't like it. And being of service can also relate to, like, if you're someone, like, we couldn't work in hospitals. We would not be ideal for looking after a sick patient. These are the worst people to get involved in charity works, in charity events. You ask a 6th house Pluto person, oh, can you come and help at the homeless shelter? Nah, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just, give them money and go. I don't want to physically have to do the work, the charity work to help. I don't get anything out of that. And I know it sounds bad, but we just don't feel like we want to do the extraness. Some people may enjoy it if you've got lots of Cancer energy or Virgo energy, maybe, but nah. Most people that do have their Pluto in the 6th house are not trying to serve others. Now, when we look at our employment, when it comes to working, Pluto 6th house people end up having problems at work, because wherever Pluto is, it causes issues. Just like where Mars is, Mars causes issues as well. It's a malefic planet. When you have your Pluto in the 6th house, you would most likely possibly be a Gemini rising. You go in for the interview and you blag your way through the interview. They love you. You're very talkative. You're very happy. And you go in and you act like you know what you're doing, which is what Gemini risings do, because they are the jack of all trades, right? You go in and you are working with different people and you have problems with your manager because your manager is telling you to do a job that's not in your contract. And as a 6th house Pluto person, you are highly offended by that, and you may have an attitude, or you tend to be asked to do these bottom jobs and you don't want to do them. This is 6th house Pluto energy, right? And for example, there was a place where I worked, and I don't know if this is a crazy example, but I worked for a housing association. This was the first job into social housing. And when I came in as an apprentice, and I was making about £1,000 a month, and that wasn't shit to me. The plan was to stay there for 2 years, get my qualifications, and then leave to go and get another job. So during that time that I worked there, I expected to have benefits that everyone else had who wasn't apprentices that worked there. I came in late, I turned up, I called in sick. You know, I expected to be treated like everyone else. Do not ask me to print things off. Do not ask me to make you teas and coffees. Don't ask me to be of service to you for these bottom jobs, because they don't like that. They don't like to do this shit. And this is how they end up in problems at work, because they do not like to be of service. And they tend to be in a very uncomfortable atmosphere at work. And, you know, it's very frustrating. That's why I hate working. I hate working for people. I find when it comes to 6th house Pluto, you have to find your balance at work, and you guys are better off lone working. If you was to get a job which allows you the flexibility to come in when you can, that allows you to leave when you can, that allows you to even work on your own most of the day, then you would be able to get around this energy so much better. Because being in an office and being tied down to rules, being there at a certain time, you know, being told that you can't go to lunch break or answer your phone, or, you know, you can't do anything, that creates the bad atmosphere, and you react badly to that. And you have to also you cannot start at a bottom job. You know, you have to be pulled into a position which is the same as everyone else around you. But for some reason, your manager always asks you to do the worst jobs out of everyone. I can't stand that about this position. Another thing about this placement is, because especially if it's in the 6th, especially if it's in Scorpio, if your Pluto is in Scorpio, you could easily work in a funeral home, working alongside dead people where it's just you working in there. You know, dealing with people. I mean, it tends to be more the behind the scenes rather than having to deal with people who are, you know, oh my God, you know, I'm so sorry to hear that your auntie died. Let me be there for you. No, that's being of service. You have to work behind the scenes, doing autopsies, you know, embalming people, stuff like that, where you haven't got to actually deal directly with people on a day-to-day basis. Now, again, the 6th house, you can also easily work in the sex industry. And the reason why I say that, especially if you have Jupiter or you have aspects in your 8th house, okay? Now, the reason why I say that is because, especially if it's in Scorpio, Pluto represents sex and taboo placement. Pluto in the 6th house can also represent someone who can be a prostitute, okay? And you haven't got to relate to this. I'm not a prostitute, right? But it all depends on what's aspected to your Pluto. Now, what's funny is, right, or working in the sex industry, what do I have aspected to my Pluto? My Mercury. I had a friend ask me, oh, honey, do you want to get into sex work? And I said, no, but I'm not offended by that. But then she asked me, would you get into phone sex work? Like, you know those call girls where you call the number up and, you know, you get someone on the phone, hey, daddy. You know those numbers that you call up, right? And it's like an expensive 090 number, like £2.50 a minute. And it's those girls that are like, hey, daddy.
What's up, girl?
Literally, I could easily do that. Because my Mercury is in opposition to Pluto, and it's in the 12th house. 12th house also represents secrets, right? And so does Pluto in the 6th house. To be offered this job, I was like, nah, I'm good. But if I was to ever do that job, it will always be in secret. I would never tell anyone that I'm going to be doing that job. And this is the thing, When you have Pluto in that house, you are very private about jobs that you are, about your work, especially if it is a taboo job like call girl, prostitution, anything to do with sex and that nature, private. You don't tell people. How do I deal with people at work? Because I've got Juno, Lilith, Pluto in my sixth house. I end up having a lot of affairs at work, man. Like, it's crazy. Not, I don't want to say a lot, but I am likely to have a lot of affairs at work. Like, I met one of my long-term boyfriends at work, and we used to do stuff at work. And I've found myself in that situation a few times. And what it is with this energy, you become the bunny at work, the sex bunny, you become, it's like having Venus in your first house, but at work. To everybody, it's like, oh my God, who's this? Everywhere I've worked, that's the energy that I exude because my Scorpio is in that house. My Lilith is in there. I'm exposed to taboos at work. And also, when I do have Scorpio in there, I tend to use this energy and I do it subconsciously. Now I'm aware, right, but I don't work, in organizations anymore. But what I used to do is when there's someone at work, I always know that I'm going to have I'm going to have him. And I go in and he will literally, and I will set a trap. So we have to communicate. And what I did is that it was lunchtime. I knew that this guy went to lunch at a certain time. But if I got there just before he did, he would have to sit on my table. So I went into lunch, but just before he did, and I sat down by myself because as a Scorpio, you are, with Scorpio energy, being by yourself, you exude this power, right? I sat down and he had nowhere else to sit but to sit with me. So he sat with me and that's how we began talking. This was the only guy in the whole office out of 700 members of staff. Or no, let's say about 300, I'm exaggerating, that I wanted. And this is what happens with the Scorpio or the Pluto in the sixth house energy. You can trap people and you are the bunny boiler. You are the bunny boiler in the office. And you tend to you tend to fantasize about sexual experiences with people at work. And that's exactly what I tend to do in working environments. Now, what can I tell you about the health? Because sixth house represents your health and well-being. When you've got Pluto in there, and especially if it's aspected to any other malefics, you can be prone to sexual transmitted diseases, infections, especially if you have any eighth house aspects as well. I've got aspects. I've got to take ridiculously good care of my sexual health. Like, it's very important that sixth house people, you are using condoms, okay? Make sure you are having protected sex. And with this placement, it's very, very easy for you to get very stressed out at work. I remember I lost like a whole stone and a half working for this awful place that wouldn't let you sit down. There was no AC in there and everyone was just getting sick, throwing up everywhere. It can make you sick. Pluto's a malefic. It's going to repercussions. It's going to have repercussions. So you must take care of your health when you have Pluto in your sixth house, especially if you have any malefics aspecting your Pluto, or even if you have any eighth house placements as well. So that's my video on Pluto in the sixth house. I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed it. I will be doing Pluto in a different house tomorrow. Not sure which one yet. So I will see you on that one, people. Take care.